What's up, guys? We got a jam-packed show tonight. We got two great guests coming on tonight to talk about some breakouts, answer some of your questions, and we play our fan favorite game called This or That. You don't want to miss this show, guys.
Fantasy football, you dealing with the best. Keep it hype, authentic, this ain't nothing like the rest. With the Armchair Fantasy Show podcast, give advice for all the listeners to improve your stats. Yeah, we live on GoingFor2.com. Tuesdays and Fridays, this is what you want. Talking dynasties and daily drafts, and we just getting started, that ain't even the half. Yeah, so go ahead, tell your friends to join. Going for two, cause no one remembers the extra point. Hey, GoingFor2.com, the Armchair Fantasy Show.
What is going on, guys? All right, welcome to episode 94 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I'm your host, of course, Jeff Lambert. You can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. Live every Tuesday and Friday night from now on through the season. Also live on Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch, and syndicated in all your major podcast networks. I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Mr. Ryan Steerfoss. Ryan, how you doing tonight, man? I think you got us on mute, Ryan.
Preparation for my dog barking at me. But feeling great, man. Been arguing with people hating on Lamar Jackson all day. So if anyone wants to get into that, I'm all fired up from that. But I'm excited. My team looks great. It's football season. Won some DraftKings yesterday. Ready to go.
Nice. Glad to hear it, man. Glad to hear it. All right. Also joining us, I was just on his podcast on Tuesday, I believe is the night we recorded. May have came out on Wednesday. Co-host and producer of the Hot Take podcast, Mr. Steven. I always mess your name up, man. Is it Toroni?
That's perfect, dude.
All
yeah,
right.
You got it.
Good deal. I was going to say the other last time I think I screwed it up, so I got it right this time, man. How you doing tonight, man?
Pretty good, man. Yeah. Oh, yeah, because then I pulled the, G off, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think you said, like, Toroni, or, there's always variations of my last name.
Yep.
But, yeah, happy to be here, guys. Yeah, it's awesome to be on the show. Love working with you guys, so I'm ready to get rolling.
All right.
Jeff's learning all the Italian last names recently, so
yeah. Now I had Pisapia on too.
Very phonetic.
Yeah, it's hard to say some of these names. All right, and also joining us, unfortunately, he's only in audio tonight. GoingFor2's own. He's an analyst and a ranker for us. Mr. Nick Yu, how you doing tonight, Nick?
I'm doing well, thank you, Jeff. I'm really excited to join you guys. I'm feeling a little better from earlier today. I was kind of tilting over a startup draft I was in, but other than that, feeling good. I kind of righted the ship in that situation as well, so I'm looking forward to talking football.
Good stuff. All right, Steve, let's go to you first. Just kind of tell the listeners about yourself, about your show, how long you've been doing this, whatever else.
Yeah, first of all, I apologize if you guys see my dog jump up here or anything like that. Can't control her right now. She's doing all right, though.
We're used to it.
The show.
We're used to it. Ryan's dog makes an appearance.
Obviously, yeah. The Hot Take podcast, all I can say is we've been going for about a year now. I met my co-host Blake Sullivan over Twitter as I was ramping up. I was writing for Fantrax for a little bit. I did that for about a year, actually. And, the Hot Take has been pretty awesome. It's ramped up, like I said, over the last year. Right now we're a part of Full-Time Fantasy, the network over there with Jim Day and those guys. So there's a few podcasts over there right now. The season's about to start, man. I'm really pumped about it.
Yeah, awesome. Good stuff. Yeah, I've been on your show. I think the first time was Tuesday. You've been on my show a couple times. I know I've talked to you and Blake quite a bit over on Twitter, so y'all do a great job over there. I think you just celebrated your 50th episode, correct?
Yeah, you were on episode 50, so that was awesome. But, we started off as a rankings show. We really wanted to just we had rankings ready to go. We wanted to just talk about them, so we just wanted to debate each other's rankings. And it turned out that a lot of our rankings were really similar. He was taking risks, as was I. We both had Patrick Mahomes very high. When people at the time weren't really sure, so that's kind of an example of how we kind of clicked. So right now we're just having a good time with it. I'm actually going to be at the Midwest Fantasy Football Expo this weekend, which is pretty exciting, over in Canton, Ohio. So nice. I'm going to check out that, check out the Football Hall of Fame. It's going to be a good weekend.
Hall of Fame's awesome, man. I live like an hour and a half away, but I'm not going, even though I should.
Oh, man. What are you doing this weekend? Come on, man.
We'll see. Maybe.
All right, and Nick, so you're fairly new with us at GoingFor2.com. You're one of our expert rankers, man. Just kind of tell us a little bit how you got into the fantasy field and how you like working for Going4 2 so far.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I'm new to the crew, but super excited to be a part of the team. Yeah, so I've been playing fantasy for a little bit over 5 years, I guess, more seriously. I mean, even before that, I was playing back in like 04, 05, but not as serious as I've been lately. But yeah, just as I've been playing more fantasy, I kind of fell into this whole dynasty community, and obviously Going4 2 is top notch in terms of fantasy.
I think we may have
for dynasty or even your DFS formats.
All right, yeah, you were cutting out a little bit there. I think we caught most of what you said.
Yeah. Right. So, but yeah, new to the game, I guess, more recently in terms of how serious I've been getting, but definitely excited to be a part of the team, and hopefully I can continue to add value to all your discussions and what we're doing.
All right, good stuff, man. Good stuff. So we got a pretty jam-packed show tonight, so we're just going to jump right into it. But before we get to the news and notes today, I want to plug once again our DraftKings contest, our charity contest that we're running right now. We're up to now $600 that we've raised. Basically, it's a free Week 1 contest that you're going to join. It's for DraftKings. DraftKings basically gave us some prizes to give away. It's free to join. Donations are optional. Obviously, we hope that you donate something, but we appreciate anything you can donate. It's very easy to get on board. It's basically just go to GoingFor2.com/charity. There's a form there to register. You just basically give us your email and your DraftKings name. And once the contest goes live, I'm going to be emailing out the URL so everybody can join in. And the link there is for the GoFundMe page as well, which all money raised goes to FantasyCares.net, which is Scott Fish's charity that basically buys toys during the holidays for kids whose parents can't afford to buy toys for them. So definitely check that out. Just go into GoingFor2.com/charity to register. It's, like I said, free to join, guys. You can't beat it. Let's get to the news and notes.
News and notes from around the league.
All right, the first note I got on here is Mr. Kenyon Drake is in a walking boot. I know people were kind of high on him earlier in the offseason. They've since kind of come off a little bit because this Kellen Balaj, working with the ones has kind of brought them down a little bit. Nick, we'll go to you first, man. What do you think of this Kenyon Drake news in a walking boot? You think it's just an off-season thing, or do you think he's in serious threat of missing the season?
I don't know if he's in serious threat of missing the season. Obviously, we need more information, but anytime any player, especially a running back, is in a walking boot with some type of foot injury, that's obviously a big concern. I was actually going to touch on him later on, so I don't want to get too in-depth on Drake, but regardless of if it's a long-term or short-term, I think it's a problem for Drake, even given that Kalen Balaj has been getting a lot of hype and a lot of action over the preseason, so definitely something to monitor going forward.
Yep, agreed 100%. Sticking with the Dolphins, we're going to go over to Josh Rosen. He's been working with the ones, and in tonight's preseason game, he actually started the game. Steven, we'll go to you. What do you think of the Drake news, and then talk a little bit about Josh Rosen getting the start?
So we were talking when you were on the hot take this week about Kenyon Drake's ADP already plummeting back in the 6th round, where he was up there in the 3rd, 4th round beginning of the summer. So now he's going to be in the walking boot. His stock is going to deplete heavily. So look, we got to look and see what's going on with the injury, but you might be able to get just a nice bargain on Kenyon Drake. I think, if you're going to be intuitive, you're going to think, okay, Kalen Balaj, he's ready to go, he's the guy. Yes, that's true, but, if this isn't that serious and Kenyon Drake is only out for 4 weeks, let's say, then all of a sudden you have a huge discount on Kenyon Drake, and you might want to think about maybe just losing 4 weeks could be worth it if he drops to, like, the 9th round.
Yep.
So he has upside, obviously, in PPR formats. And then Balaj, yeah, he's a nice play. Even when Drake does come back, I think that Balaj, I was looking at him as standalone value regardless of this injury. So I think he's going to get work, and I think it's going to be a 50-50 split when they're both healthy. But in regards to Josh Rosen, look, I hope it's Ryan Fitzpatrick, man. I want that for those receivers. I want them to be fantasy relevant. If Josh Rosen's there, who knows who it's going to be on a weekly basis. But I feel like with Fitzpatrick, he's going to feed the wide receivers a good bit, and it's going to be a high volume for him.
All right, good stuff. And we'll stick with the Dolphins here, Ryan. Going to you. So my boy, Mr. Mike Gesicki, has been struggling in camp. I know you've been kind of a hater, and I've been sort of buying him, and now I'm starting to come around to where you were at. Talk about Mike Gesicki a little bit.
I kind of want to mention all of these. I'm very opinionated on the opposite, but Gesicki is just, I mean, he's athletic, but it's not functional, man. Like, he kind of looks lost out there. You can be as fast as you want, but if you can't run good routes and get open, it ain't going to do anything in the NFL. If you can't block, you're not going to stay on the field as a tight end, especially when you have a team with not that many weapons to be forced to run the ball. Quarterback situation, man. I want Rosen to start. I mean, this team, they're not going to be competitive. They're not going to win the AFC East. Why not put the guy in to see if he can prove himself? What are you getting out of Fitzpatrick starting as a team? He's, you know what he is. He's a career journeyman. And Rosen's a guy who has potential. He was just in a terrible situation. And
from a football perspective, it's Rosen, for sure. There's no reason why they wouldn't start him. I agree with you.
And if it's Fitzpatrick, he's going to make guys relevant some weeks, and then he's going to throw 8 picks and go 5 for 30 the next week, and you're going to be so mad that you started and you're going to headbutt a knife. Like, this dude's – it's Fitzpatrick every single year.
I think if you own any of the receivers there for this season, I think you're hoping it's Fitzpatrick.
What receiver do you actually want to own?
That's a good point. I mean Preston Williams has looked pretty good. Preston Williams has been looking pretty good. I think if you're taking a late-round flyer, you're hoping it's Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
You're not like getting all the Dolphins receivers for sure. No, but I mean, I feel like it's like Kenny Stills and Devontae Parker are like a poor man's Deshaun Jackson and Mike Evans, and I think that Fitzpatrick can work with it. We've seen him make multiple receivers relevant.
Very poor man.
Yeah.
Like homeless fans. But now you're, and I mean, they said Drake should be back by like week 1 or 2, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard anything too serious about it, but it was kind of just all of a sudden he was in a boot, and you always get kind of nervous when you hear that.
I traded for him last week. I traded Duke Johnson for him straight up. But I like Drake. I don't like Balaj. I don't think he's a good running back. I think he has terrible vision. But I don't really want that many parts of this offense in general.
Fair enough.
I mean, we're not going to talk about the Dolphins during the season at all, so I guess you might as well get it in now.
Do it in the offseason.
Yeah.
All right, Nick, we haven't heard from you in a while. Let's talk a little bit about Chris Carson. The news coming out of camp is that he's going to get 2/3 of the work between him and Rashad Penny. And one of the coaches said that they want to get him 50 receptions this year. Are you buying the 50 receptions? And what are you doing with Chris Carson in your rankings if he does get those kind of receptions?
I'm not buying those 50 receptions. I mean, I'm coming around a little bit on Carson recently. I've never really been a big fan. I think the injury proneness and, the fact that he was splitting, touches, even though he was a lead back in Seattle, splitting touches with Rashard Penny, who had, a lot of draft capital behind him. And I don't know. I mean, I can't see 50 targets or 50 receptions for that matter, just given that Seattle is, pushing the ball through the ground. Russell Wilson, career low in pass attempts, and even if they were going to pass more, I would probably see more targets going to Lockett, obviously DK Metcalf on the outside. Hopefully David Moore gets some more touches. And I'm not buying the target talk or the volume talk in terms of receiving for Carson. 2/3 of the touches or carries, I can't see that. I could kind of get on board with that part of it. I think there's been some hype on Penny this offseason just like last, but Carson's still the guy to be unseated in Seattle from all intents and purposes. But I'm not really going to adjust my rankings as of yet. I want to see a little bit more out of Seattle before I touch my rankings. Yeah,
I think I agree with you on that. I don't know about 50 receptions. That would make him, I think, like the 3rd leading receiver on that team or something if you were going by last year's numbers. And I don't know if I buy that out of a running back position, especially Chris Carson. And, I'm not adjusting my rankings either, but I can see this news kind of pushing his ADP up to a point where I don't want him anymore. I think he was going kind of as a value because everybody thought it was going to be a split 50-50 with Penny and Carson. But now with this news, people are going to be drafting him a little bit higher, thinking they're going to get this, workhorse back and the receptions as well. So I'm with you. I'm not adjusting in my rankings, but I think he might raise an ADP a little bit. All right, Steven, let's talk about some receivers here. We got a rookie receiver that, coming into the season was a pretty popular pick in rookie drafts. And everyone kind of expected him to be sort of a 2020 guy. 2019 he was probably me behind Alshon Jeffrey, but now they're saying that he might be a factor this year. Are you buying this with J.J. Arcega-Whiteside being a factor this year for 2019 in fantasy?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's just a great late round flyer because if anything were to happen to Alshon, he steps right into that role. He steps right into that Alshon role of being the big body receiver. So, yeah, I mean, I think that this Eagles offense is going to be really good. I'm expecting big things from them this year if just everyone stays healthy, including the quarterback, obviously. So, yeah, JJ is a great play, I think. And even in a 12-team redraft league, you can, just take the last pick and you got him. He's going to be there.
All right, yeah, good stuff there. Sticking with the receiver theme, Ryan, we're going to go to you with OBJ and his hip pointer. They're kind of downplaying it a little bit, but this is a guy that's dealt with injuries his whole career. What do you feel about OBJ?
I mean, I'm still drafting OBJ where I would as of now for what we know, because you said they are downplaying until we hear more, but it is a little bit worrisome, man. There's always seems to be something with him, so it's one of those cautiously optimistic.
Right.
But there's a lot going on in Cleveland right now to watch.
Right, not reacting
between
to
off the field and these injuries.
Yep, I agree 100%. I don't think I'm changing.
Have that Eagles dream team feel.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see how that works out.
That's one of those things you just watch beat writers every day.
Yep, exactly. Just see what they say each time. Because preseason, obviously, it'll be a story every preseason game going forward if he's in a play or not.
Better buy Rashard Higgins just in case.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's got the third.
He would be in a great situation if OBJ missed any time.
Yep, 100% agree. And
Landry still a value.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, Nick, let's talk to you about one of the bigger stories right now with Andrew Luck right now. There's his week 1 availability is in doubt. Last time the Colts played this game, Andrew Luck didn't play the entire season. Are we worried about Andrew Luck for week 1, and are you adjusting your rankings at all?
Not worried yet. Just definitely optimistically cautious to kind of steal Ryan's words. With Andrew Luck situation with the high ankle potentially, or calf or whatever it may be, lower leg. I think there is concern based on what happened before with the shoulder and how the Colts are being very secretive and ended up kind of costing the season after they kind of downplayed it for quite some time. I don't know. This is kind of different. It's a quarterback. I'm not too worried. It's not his arm or his shoulder. So I think that's kind of something a good sign for me. I actually have Andrew Luck as my QB1 this year in redraft. So,
nice.
I think it's tough for me to make that adjustment just yet. But, my finger's definitely right there just in the event that, something does come up. But I don't know. For me, I'm trying not to overreact to it, whether it's a preseason game performance or an injury report, unless for sure they're going to IR or they're going to need surgery. If it's not something like that, I'm going to kind of sit tight and adjust if I need to, but I don't want to make any rash adjustments right now.
All right, yeah, I think I'm with you on that as well. Since this is a big story, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get your opinions too. Steven, what's your thoughts on this Andrew Luck situation?
I mean, he's going to be drafted in like the 9th, 10th round at this point. So, yeah. I mean, you take him and then all of a sudden he misses a couple weeks, you're fine. It's just you're going to have a situation or a decision to make in your drafts. We were talking about this the other day, Jeff. So it's going to be tough. Now, if they say, yeah, he's playing week 1, okay, great, that changes things. But it looks like he's not. And we were kind of talking, Jeff. They might want to just keep him away from that Chargers game because it's going to be in a hostile environment. It's a good defense. And if he's not 100% by week 1, why throw him out there? Yep. It just kind of seems like throw out Jacoby, game plan for that, and then move on to week 2. But we don't know about week 2 right now. So it's tough. I think you just kind of depends if you want to eat another draft spot for a quarterback.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Ryan? What you doing with Andrew Luck?
I'm honestly a little scared for a change. Normally I wait until I hear stuff, but there's been the ongoing thing between last year and the year before where he's been hurt. They've kept it quiet, and they're really good at keeping it quiet. I don't know why they are so secretive about everything, but, man, it's scary. There's a lot that rides on him. I dropped him from my QB3 to probably the 8 or 9 range because there's not that big of a difference in those guys and him for me. So I'm going to take somebody a little bit safer. But if you're getting down to the place where you're taking Kirk Cousins, Lamar, some of the young guys like that, Winston, I'm probably going to take Luck. But he's going to be below people like Goff, Ryan, Cam Newton, Baker for me because they're healthy and not that big of a drop-off.
Yeah, good point. Good point. All right, we got a couple more here. We'll do some quick fire, some running backs. I got some notes on here. Sony Michel looking like the clear-cut number 1 back in the Patriots' backfield. Of course, James White is still there, but there was some talk about Damian Harris taking some snaps away from him. What are you doing with this news, Nick? Are you leaving Michel where he's at? Are you raising him in your ranks? Are you lowering Damian Harris? What are you doing with this news?
I'm kind of leaving everybody where they're at. I'm not touching Sony Michel before or after this news. I think now maybe ADP bumps back up a little bit after it kind of dropped after all the questions about the knee and the surgery and all that, the scope. For me, just I think now the fact that his ADP is rising, I don't like him more just at the value that he'd be taken at. I think there's better running backs for me. I'd probably kind of lean towards someone like a Leonard Fournette, probably going before him regardless. But now maybe Michel closes the gap a little bit. Damian Harris, I still view him as a potential league winner. I don't have him that high in redraft. I do like him in other formats, but redraft, I'd probably wait till Jalen Samuels is off the board, and then I might look at a Damian Harris or someone like that.
All right, good stuff. Ryan, I'm going to go to you with this news. Darius Geis is still not cleared to play. I know you were a big fan of his. Are you worried about him for his season?
It might be another year off on him. Did you see how good AP looked too?
Mm-hmm.
Like
he definitely did.
I don't know how you're gonna put him in, make him the lead back right now when there's old AP running great and they can kind of let guys slowly get healthy and get into the fold. And they're really not that good of an offense. So how many opportunities are they going to have in the red zone? How many opportunities are they going to have for playing with the lead where they're going to pound the rock?
That's a good point.
He's dropping for me. He's probably in that no-fly range, but I'll still buy him on the cheap in Dynasty.
Yeah, in Dynasty, I would still buy him, I think, as well. All right, Steven, we're going to go to you for these last 2 running backs here. Just 2 quick ones here. Melvin Gordon is prepared to sit out. At least that's the news coming out of his camp. And then Carlos Hyde on the roster bubble. Are you buying it?
Yeah, I'm buying that Carlos Hyde might not make that team if they're ready to move on with Damian Williams and Darwin Thompson. And then they got Darrell Williams there too. Yeah, they might cut him. But if he makes the team, he's valuable. So I still think he should be on your radar if he's on the team, as weird as that is. Melvin Gordon, yeah, I mean, you got to start buying into Justin Jackson and that's Austin Eckler. If he's going to sit out, it looks like he's not going to. He might play like half the season. He might wait until week 10. That's what I think he's going to do.
Yeah. I think.
Where's your cutoff on where you draft them?
Man,
5th round.
Yes, 5th,
like
6th,
6th round.
6.
Yeah. And the closer we get, the more he's in the drop. I think. Yeah. The closer we get to week 1, the more and more he's in the drop down. Especially with the Le'Veon Bell situation last year, and everybody's kind of seeing that as a repeat of this year. I'd hate to be the one to draft him and then be stuck with him.
I think he'll play after week 10. I think.
Yeah, I think he has to get that a cured year in there. Whereas Le'Veon Bell didn't need that to be a free agent. He needs that to get that last year of his contract. Otherwise, he'll be in the same situation next year.
So he chills on your bench till fantasy playoffs and comes in beat up, or not beat up, but
fresh.
Out of sorts.
Yeah, he comes in fresh, man.
He's fresh, but man, he hasn't practiced in what, months?
Yeah. And I think if I'm that team, let's say the Chargers are in the playoff hunt and we've done it with Eckler and Justin Jackson, and he shows up on week 10, I don't want him to play. I'm kind of like, you quit on us. You didn't, you haven't been here all season. We're winning without you. Sit on the bench and just wait to ride it out. And if we have an injury, maybe you could step in. But I don't want him to play at that point.
No, dude. After Phillip Rivers called him out, I'm not very confident.
Yeah, I'm not confident at all. All right, let's get to some listener questions here. We got a bunch of good ones. Before we get into the ones I had already written down, We had a few that came across live when we're talking about Andrew Luck. From Michael Stepney, he's got two questions about Andrew Luck. His first one is: does Andrew's Luck value change in two quarterback leagues in Superflex, or are we still buying him at the same value as before? Nick, we'll go to you first. What do you think of that question there? So, does Andrew Luck's value go down in Superflex leagues?
No, I mean, for me, like I said, I'm not adjusting him right now. So, in the Superflex situation where quarterbacks are even more valued, I wouldn't fade him. To be honest, even if he misses one or two games, he's still going to be a QB1. He's still going to put up, elite production if and when he's right. And given the situation, obviously I have to take just a guess, just like the rest of us. But if I have to just make a random guess on it, I see him maybe missing one or two games. I don't see him missing long term.
Fair enough. And then part two to that question, Steven, is how does this affect the other players on that team? The T.Y. Hilton, the Marlon Mack, Eric Ebron, Doyle. Are you drafting them any differently than you were before?
Yeah, so Nick has a good point. It really just depends. We still need to gather more information with this. But if you believe that he's going to miss time, you should apply that to the weapons around him. So if you think that he could miss 4 games, then maybe you adjust your guys. But we really have to play it by ear. So if he comes in week 1, then no, you don't move T.Y. Hilton. I think that we have to think about Marlon Mack, though, right now, because I think that Marlon Mack is a lot more valuable, with Andrew Luck on the field in a high, potent scoring offense than not. So, he really could be a trap there if Andrew Luck misses a significant amount of time. All
right, yeah, good stuff. All right, Ryan, we're going to go to you with one of the Twitter questions that we have from @Polizzi21, GoingFor2.com's own. He's got a question about strategy and how much you take bye weeks into consideration when you're drafting. Thinking of redraft here, do you look at bye weeks for anything when you're drafting, or you just go best player available?
I don't look at bye weeks at all, honestly. It may have cost me before, but there's a lot more things that cost you. I'm not going to take a drop off in talent or roster construction because of 1 week.
Yep.
And like I said, if you have everybody on bye week on the same 2 weeks, that's only 2 weeks of the season. The roster set the rest instead of maybe 1 or 2 guys here trickling through and screwing you then. I'm not paying attention. That's what the best players.
I think the only time I'm going to be looking at it is if I'm playing Superflex or a tight end premium and it's only one position. I might make sure that my 2 quarterbacks don't have the same bye week because I want to have at least one of them for that week. Same thing with a tight end. If I've got 2 tight ends that I can play week in and week out, I don't want to have the same bye week for those guys. But for the most part, I don't look at bye weeks pretty much at all. And like you said, there's been occasions where I've drafted players that I liked and I realized, oh, you know what? They all have week 7 bye weeks. So now I'm going to actually look at getting guys at week 7 bye weeks and just throw that week away and then be full strength for the rest of the season. So I don't look at bye weeks too much in depth.
Yeah, it's a good point, Jeff. Superflex, you got to look, because if you don't have that one extra quarterback, you're kind of screwed there, especially in a best ball situation.
Yep, definitely. All right, Steven, we'll stay with you with this next question. Also from GoingFor2's own, Courtney, and he has the worst Twitter handle. Courtney, we can get you a better Twitter handle, man. It's Courtney110979. I know it's probably your birthday, but man, that's a lot of numbers there. So his question is, are we back to drafting back-to-back running backs, first round, second round? A few years ago, it got to be sort of taboo to kind of go with the receivers because we weren't quite as deep as running backs. But are you going RB in most of your redraft leagues now, Steven?
I mean, I never have, but I don't think that ever went out of style. I mean, if you can get 2 great running backs, get 2 great running backs any year ever in fantasy. So that's fine. I usually draft wide receiver heavy, but it's just the way the draft unfolds that makes me like my team better with 2 stud receivers. So I just think that the running back later in the year, you can replace. There's injuries. People step up, and you can replace that like RB2 better than you can the wide receiver 2. That's just my personal philosophy. But no, 2 RBs. I mean, like this year, if you can start with James Conner and Nick Chubb, I don't think you're going to regret that.
Definitely not. Yeah, there was a couple years ago, I think, the year that Antonio Brown was a consensus number 1 overall, I think the running back position was pretty shallow then. And I think a lot of players went receiver, or running back receiver that first 2 rounds, and it was sort of taboo to get 2 running backs because there just weren't any good ones that were available in those late rounds. But now I think position's so deep. I mean, every team now seems to have 2 viable running backs for fantasy. You got their pass down guy, you got your short yardage guy. So I think if you get the RB, that's great. I do tiered drafting where I have my tiers set up, and if I got a guy in the first tier and a second round I get another guy in my first tier, if it happens to be a receiver, I'll just grab him as well. So agreed 100%. It's all about how your draft goes. And Nick, we'll go to you for the last question we got from Twitter, and this is from @FTLS_JBats. His question is Kelsey in the first round a ridiculous thought? He's kind of coming around to taking him in the first round based on the positional advantage. What are you doing with Kelsey? Are you taking a first round flyer on him? Oh, I shouldn't say flyer. A first round pick on him.
First round pick on Kelsey in redraft. The only time heavy tight end premium, maybe a 1.75 PPR, or maybe even a 2 point per reception format.
Right.
I mean, if it's just your basic 1.5 tight end premium or no premium for a tight end, I wouldn't touch Kelsey in the first round, even if I can get a positional advantage. I think the talent pool in the first round is just so tilted towards those running backs, those elite 4, and then you got maybe your top 3 to 5 receivers. It's just too much value to pass up. I think in one of those formats you can get Kelsey in the second round. Maybe you get DeAndre Hopkins or Juju or Odell, Julio in the first, and then on the way back in the second you could probably grab a Kelsey. So for me, unless it's a wild premium, I'm not touching Kelsey in the first.
All right, yeah, good stuff. Ryan, what do you think of that, Kelsey in the first? Are you doing anything Kelsey in the first in redraft leagues?
No, I don't like how your roster. I don't like how it makes roster construction look, man. Because if you pick him, you're going to miss out on the opportunity to have either 2 stud running backs or stud running back receiver. If it's a huge league, maybe. I took him last pick of the 16-team league, but that's different. That's basically a second-round pick. But it's so hard with that, man. It's a tight end. It's one spot, and it's a lot harder to replace if something happens to him than any of the other positions, which leaves you kind of screwed for the season.
Yep. Yeah, I'll kind of give a little bit of a personal history. A few years ago, I drafted Gronkowski at the end of the first round. This is before he kind of fell off. And this was the year that pretty much every first-round player that year got injured at some point during the season, except for Gronkowski. He actually stayed healthy almost the entire season, and I still didn't make the playoffs. So that kind of gives you a little idea right there. Is you go tight end early, sometimes the rest of your roster suffers. And even though those other guys lost their first-round picks for a few games, and I didn't lose Gronkowski at all, my roster wasn't very good, and I ended up struggling a little bit. So I'm with you. I don't take tight ends in the first round really at all.
I mean, think about it. If you take him first round, second round, best case scenario, you get Dalvin Cook. And then your wide receiver 1 ends up being Robert Woods.
Yep.
Do you like the way your roster looks then? With those your 3 best players?
It's tough, yep.
Or would you rather get O.J. Howard in the 5th?
Yep. 100% agree. 100% agree with that one. All right, there was one more question on here, but I'm going to save it because it's actually something that we're going to talk about later on. But at NFL_Zach was asking about Thielen and Diggs. But we got a segment coming up here pretty soon where we're going to talk about Thielen and Diggs, so we'll answer that question at that point. We'll take a quick commercial break, guys, and when we come back, we got some breakout or fake out, and then we'll play some this or that, so hang tight.
In the unpredictable world of fantasy sports, when all hope seems lost, and chaos and confusion rule, one hero will rise. And change everything. GoingFor2.com. Because no one remembers the extra point.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back. I'm here with Steven, Nick, and Ryan, and we are about to talk about some breakouts and some fake outs. Before we get to that, I want to mention one more time the charity contest that we got going on DraftKings. Visit GoingFor2.com/charity. It's for a good cause. It's a free league to join. You can win some prizes and donate to a good charity. So check that out, GoingFor2.com/charity. All right, guys, I asked y'all each to bring a couple breakouts and a couple fake outs for today's show. So we'll start off with you, Nick, first. If you can just give us one of your breakout players and why you like them this year.
I'm going to start off with Christian Kirk, wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals.
Love it.
Second year. I think all signs are pointing to a real breakout with Murray at the helm now. I mean, that's going to be an air raid offense. I mean, extreme high volume over the air. Larry's back for another season, but, he's getting older, and I think this is the year they're going to really start funneling the offense through someone like Christian Kirk as an offense to David Johnson. Yeah, so, I mean, given the volume, just kind of seeing what he's able to do on the field, line up anywhere. I would love to see him in the slot more, but with Fitzgerald coming back, I think we'll have to wait another year on that. But second year, I think he's going to break out. That's going to be a high pace, high volume offense.
I 100% agree with that one. Actually, I wrote an article on Christian Kirk for Fantasy Pros. I don't have all the numbers right in front of me, but just off the top of my head, I think they had a total of 2,500 passing yards last year with Rose in there, and Christian Kirk accounted for 600 of those yards in only 12 games and had 3 touchdowns. So if he can do that in that terrible offense from last year, I mean, it was historically bad last year. If he can do that, with that offense and that quarterback and that situation, imagine what he can do in this offense with Kyler Murray. I think it's a great pick, and I love Christian Kirk as well. So good call there for your breakout. All right, Steve, let's go to you. What's one of your breakouts this year?
Well, this one's a layup, Jeff. I mean, you're pretty much setting me up. You're Dwayne Wade right here, and I'm LeBron, so I'm just going to throw it down. Because it's Kerryon Johnson. And, I mean, yeah, we're all on Kerryon. That's fine. But now that he's in the second round, people are fading him. And that's fine. I get it. He's late round second pick. He might drop into the third, depending on your league. If not a lot of people are familiar with Kerryon at this point, he could actually still slip. Just because ADP says he's at 212 doesn't mean you have to draft him there. But the thing is with Kerryon, Theo Riddick had 74 targets last year.
Yep.
That's a lot of targets, man, that are just not there. And he was already doing pretty well in that category. Just talking about receiving, he averaged 3.9 targets a game last year. If you pace that out for 16 games, he only played 10. He's getting 62 targets with Theo Riddick. So, I just think that his floor is something like 60, 70 targets, right? So that alone, he's going to give you a nice floor. And then, look, he averaged 5.4 yards per carry last year. As long as he gets the volume there, which I think we can anticipate something around 200 carries, even if they're giving C.J. Anderson the ball or Zach Zenner or whoever. I just think that right now Kerryon Johnson is a really good spot. Even if they want to involve other people, I think they really have to give the workload to Kerryon just because of his talent. And it's obvious that they need to use him.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's a saying, it's the cream rises to the top, basically. You got some other running backs there, but when it comes down to it, he's more talented than everybody there, and if they give him the ball, they're going to win some games. So I think I agree 100%. His workload is going to be massive. The only concern, obviously, is the injury history, but I think if he can stay healthy, even if he gets you 14 games, 13 games, I think he's still going to be a viable top pick there for running back. So great breakout. All right, Ryan, let's go to you. What do you got for your breakout?
Got Tony Pollard.
Ooh.
This is with or without Zeke being there.
Wow.
I like Tony Pollard. Zeke's there, man. Tony Pollard's an elite receiving threat out of the running back position. They've showed him beating guys on fly route or on like wheel routes down the field. He's done at the receiver, or done at the corners, done at the safeties, linebackers, all of that. And this isn't something new for him. He did it in college. He averaged over 11 yards reception his junior year, 14.9 his sophomore year. He is absolutely electric with the ball in his hands. He's a big play threat. I promised myself I was going to talk about any Ravens players for my breakouts today. His ability to be like an electric playmaker, similar to how we've talked about Justice Hill. He's just nowhere near as hyped right now. And I think Pollard's the dude who's pretty close to free right now, who, if Zeke is out, he could be a 15, 20-touch guy.
Yep.
And that's huge.
Well, let me ask you then, if let's say Zeke does come back for week 1, and you said you're buying him either way, are you taking away from Zeke at all? Because I think he had about, 70-plus targets last year. Are you taking away any of Zeke's targets?
I'm not worried about Zeke at all if he's back. I mean, he's going to be efficient. He's going to get the rock. That offense runs through Zeke. I have no fear of that. They're just going to find ways to get him the ball, especially now. Mari's a little bit banged up. They don't have Cole Beasley across the middle like they used to. I know Cobb's there, but it's not the same. We don't know what he can do still.
Stay healthy.
Yeah, you don't know if he can stay healthy. Pollard's a dude who can do a little bit of everything, and they're going to find ways to get the ball in the playmaker's hands.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff. I love that one. Reaching deep. All right, let's go back around the table and let's do a fake out this time. Nick, we'll go to you first. Give us one of your fake out players.
Fake out. I want to go with Ronald Jones of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not buying it, Jeff. You know, a lot of this puffery and hype coming out of Tampa. They're trying to pump up his confidence and his self-esteem, but gaining weight over the offseason. I mean, we saw this last year. Showing up at training camp out of shape, and this year I don't think it's going to be much better or much anything of the same. That if you can't unseat Peyton Barber by basically mid-August at this point, I think there's a lot of red flags for me. So I think Ronald Jones is a fake out, especially even though considering that his ADP is still pretty low, and I don't see it rising too much. But Bucs are going to be behind a lot of games. They're not going to really be running the ball or have an opportunity to grind on the clock. It's going to be a pass-heavy offense. Jameis doesn't check it down, especially to his running backs. And Ronald Jones is behind Barber as well, so a lot to overcome for him.
Oh, man, you're hurting my heart, man. I took Ronald Jones in the Scott Fishbowl as one of my flex starters there, and Ryan gave me shit for it because I was down on Rojo last year, and Ryan was all over Rojo, and this year I've been buying Rojo. He's been giving me shit for it, so you're hurting my heart, man, with the fake out, but I hope you're wrong. All right.
I'm a Bucs fan, so I hope I'm wrong as well, to be honest.
Oh, wow. Wow, you're a Bucs fan and you're already down on Rojo. That's not a good sign for me at all.
I think the best point there, Nick, was if he hasn't clearly beaten out Peyton Barber at this point, definitely a red flag.
Definitely. All right, Steven, what you got for your fake out?
It's a rookie, so it's kind of tough to say that he's either going to hit or not. But I think what I'm looking at here with Josh Jacobs is the offense. I mean, what can we really project for the Raiders offense? Like, I think it'll be better than last year, but I'm not saying it's going to go gangbusters and just be this high-flying offense. And I think we really are projecting, or a lot of people are, Josh Jacobs is just going to be this workhorse. They have Doug Martin. I mean, I don't know why John Gruden wouldn't use Doug Martin. I know that's not what fantasy football analysts or fans want to hear, but they've got Doug Martin. They've got Jalen Richard, who's still going to get some targets. I just don't see the workhorse type of, 225 carries, 50 receptions for Josh Jacobs. I'm not seeing that right now. So he's being drafted at the RB20. David Montgomery's right there, another rookie. I'm just way higher on, better offense. I see the usage a little bit more clearly. And Chris Carson going right behind him, Mark Ingram, Sony Michel, who we talked about earlier. I'm just not seeing it for Josh Jacobs. I don't think he's going to return that even early fourth-round ADP.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that one. I don't think I bought Jacobs in any of my leagues. And we had John Lobb on really early in the season, a mutual friend of ours. And he had a really good stat that he brought out, and I may get it wrong, but I think Gruden's been a coach for 12 years. And in those 12 years, he's only had one QB or RB1 in his whole 12-year career, and that was Charlie Gardner for the Raiders. So you think about all the running backs that he's had to his career, he's never had an RB1 in fantasy before, so it doesn't bode well for Jacobs at all. So I'm with you 100%. I'm not buying him in any of my leagues. All right, Ryan, what you got for your fake out?
I'm gonna start with little numbers first for this person. He's 5'9", 190 pounds. He averaged 5.4 yards a carry last year, or averaged 5.4 yards per carry. You know what I'm talking about here?
Not yet.
So.
I'm talking about Justin Forsett.
Oh, nice.
He had My man never had over 700 yards in his season in his entire career, undrafted free agent, and he had Gary Kubiak and rushed for 1,200 yards. Philip Lindsay last year broke out of the scene, 5'9", 190 pounds, undrafted free agent with Gary Kubiak, averaged 5.4 yards a carry, shredded it. Every running back who's been in the Kubiak offense has been that dude. It doesn't matter who. It's just been a spinning wheel of just production. Kubiak's gone. Flacco's there. There's not a lot to like about that offense. And Royce Freeman looks better than he did last year. I'm out on Lindsey. I was out before Freeman broke out this offseason, but his price right now, it's way too high. He's somebody I'd think about like the 10th or 11th round. I'm out on him completely.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. Actually, I've been buying Freeman everywhere that I could because he's going so much lower than Lindsey. And I think that, even if Lindsey does have a good season, I think it's still going to be a 1-2 punch there. And I think Royce Freeman is that one punch, and I think Lindsey's the two. So I think they're both viable in fantasy. But, yeah, I think I'm with you in as far as Freeman having a better season this year than Lindsey did. So I agree 100% with that one.
Are you comfortable starting him?
Freeman?
Lindsey?
Or Lindsey?
No, Lindsey on a weekly basis?
I'm not. I haven't bought him in any of my leagues. I wouldn't start him either. I'm not comfortable, especially in the fourth round. There's too many running backs going in that range that I'd much rather have.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back around one more time and get our one more breakout. Nick, we'll go to you. What you got for your next breakout?
I'm going to continue to plant my flag on Mr. Miles Sanders,
Nice.
potential league winner here in 2019. I think we know that the situation he's in, it's a great Eagles offense. Obviously, the downside is this Jordan Howard talk. I'm not buying it. I'm loving what I'm hearing out of, Philadelphia with all the beat writers. Elliott Shore-Parks just came out and said, he expects Sanders to be the, lead back starting week one. I've seen some other beat writers in Philly say the same thing and echo that sentiment. And a lot of people are saying, there's going to be an RBVC committee out in Philly because Doug Peterson's done it that way his whole coaching career. But obviously the counter to that is, when did he have a full kind of all around back like Sanders? Probably never. And they traded up. They took Sanders early in the draft. Howie Roseman never trades up. He doesn't waste draft capital on running backs unless it's going to be like a LaShawn McCoy. So I don't know. I think all signs are pointing towards Sanders being that lead back early. And if so, getting him after Josh Jacobs, after Monty, after a lot of these running backs are going in that RB3, maybe even RB4. I guess it's RB3 territory now with Sanders.
Yep.
But yeah, he's gonna win leagues this year. I really feel it. And he looked good. It's preseason, but he looked good in the pass pro.
Yep.
I think that was one of the knocks on him. So looks like he's working on that. Of course, ball security is going to be a concern, but if he can learn how to hold on to that ball, I think he's going to be trouble. I think he's going to be a solid RB2 this year.
Yep, I'm with you on Miles Sanders. I loved him coming into the season, and I actually tried to buy him wherever I could before the preseason so that he wouldn't get that hype that he's getting now. So good stuff there. I love it. All right, Steven, what you got for your next breakout?
Yeah, I love Miles Sanders this year too, Nick. I think that 7th round that's a great pick. Where there's a lot around there that you'd be a lot less happy with come midseason. My guy actually was second in ADOT last year with at least 91 targets. So he had 15.7 average depth of target, which was right there with Mike Evans. So this guy is always a big air yards guy. So that the air yards are going to be around 1,500 plus as far as, being that deep ball threat. And it's Robbie Anderson. Now, nice. You can say that he did break out 2 years ago when he was the wide receiver 18 overall. Say that was a pretty good season, but that was just his sophomore season. We always talk about that third-year breakout, right? Like, his sophomore season, he was wide receiver 18. So Robbie Anderson, 2 years ago with Josh McCown, who, that connection was just really good. He came in last year with Sam Darnold and didn't start off so hot. They didn't have the connection built up, even though he did score a touchdown that first week against the Lions. he ended up with 752 yards last year, 50 receptions. Sam Darnold had some growing pains. So we have year 2 with that combination. I think the Jets' offense is going to be better than people think. And Robbie Anderson's the clear wide receiver 1 there. 2 years ago, 114 targets. Last year, 94 in 14 games. I see that increasing back to that 120-ish range this season. Maybe if it's a little under, that's okay, because I still think he can give you 1,000 yards and around 7-8 touchdowns. So I think we're going to find Robbie Anderson back into that wide receiver 2 range this season.
Nice.
Yeah, I freaking love Robbie Anderson. And they said they're going to start throwing to him underneath more, too.
Yeah. I mean, he in all 16 games, 14 games. That's what he does for you. He stays healthy.
Yep.
There was that little scare where we thought he was going to miss some time. He avoided that, thankfully. All things considered, man, I think this offense is slept on a little bit. Le'Veon Bell is going to really pace it. Sam Darnold's going to be better than people think. And, yeah, he's the wide receiver 1 there.
100% agree with that one. I love that one. All right, Ryan, give us your last breakout.
I'm going with Jameis Winston, man. He's right now. He's going to 10. Super late, but we have Mike Evans, 2nd round pick. We got Chris Godwin, early 4th now, late 3rd. Everybody's draft darling, so everyone thinks they're going to both be 1,300 yards, 1,000 yards. O.J. Howard, top 5 tight end. With those weapons, how is Winston still falling in drafts?
Yep.
Yes, he's probably going to throw a bunch. He's going to have a bunch of turnovers, but he's going to be throwing for a ton of yards. They have no running game. They have weapons everywhere on offense, and he's a lot safer than a lot of guys because there's no competition like he had last year, which there shouldn't have been anyways. And he's falling, man. I didn't see what QB he is. He's outside of the top 12 quarterbacks. So he's another dude. He's basically free, and he could be an every week starter with you because the defense isn't that great. They're going to be playing from behind. They're going to be throwing. He's throwing to good people. I'm all in on for that. This is his breakout year. It's a make-or-break season for him.
Yep.
He's playing for that 5th-year contract.
Agreed 100% with Jameis Winston. I mean, they were a good offense last year. They didn't have Arians. And, with Fitzpatrick and Jameis Winston combined, they were the QB2. If you were to combine their stats together, they were only 20 points behind Patrick Mahomes. Now they got Bruce Arians as their quarterback, or as their coach, and he's obviously a pass-first kind of guy. And I think he's just going to do wonders for Jameis Winston. I went back just while you were talking to look at Carson Palmer's first year with Arians.
Killed it.
Yeah, he killed it. And he had a bunch of interceptions because Arians' offense is like that. He says, throw the ball where it's supposed to go, and if it gets picked off, it gets picked off. I mean, he doesn't want those picks, but he says that if you throw it to the right place, it's more often than not, we're going to win that battle. So that's kind of how Arians' offense runs. So I love that pick.
And they have guys who can win those 50-50 balls.
Exactly.
Like, there's not many guys who are going to beat Mike Evans and O.J. Howard in 50-50 balls, and
100%.
Chris Godwin is up and coming, too.
Yeah.
So
100% agree.
Yeah, even Justin Watson and Bashard Perryman are those type of players that can win those kind of balls too.
Yep.
We're not talking about Bashard Perryman. He's a flaming dumpster, man. That dude hilts me out. Nah.
All right, we'll go quick fire in these last couple fake outs because we are getting up against the clock here. So, Nick, we'll go to you for your last fake out. Give us your fake out and a real quick analysis.
Yeah, so, I mean, you touched upon him earlier. It's Kenyon Drake. Last season, I think he finished as like an RB14, so just outside the RB1 tier. I think with this injury now, it's making me even more concerned. I've never been a believer of Drake. I think he has some 3-down talent and skill sets, but there's just too much coming out of Miami with Balaj, and he couldn't overtake Gore last year. I think, Drake's biggest accomplishment to date was literally, replacing Damian Williams back a couple years ago. So, I'm just not buying into the hype. I think, like Steven had mentioned earlier, Kalen Balaj is going to at least have 50-50 in terms of timeshare. So, people have some high hopes of Drake. For me, I'm fading him. He's a fake out.
All right, good stuff there. Kenyon Drake as a fake out. All right, Steven, what you got for your last fake out?
It's Dante Pettis. I think he's talented, and even with the recent news before that, I was kind of off of Dante, just because George Kittle is the wide receiver 1 there, And the type of offense that they're going to run, they're going to spread it out no matter what. So I know you want to believe in Dante Pez. I like him as a talent, but Marquise Goodwin is there. They consider him the one. They still consider Goodwin there as the starter. They got 2 rookies, Jalen Hurd, Deebo Samuel. They even got Kendrick Bourne, who actually led the team in wide receiver targets last year.
Yep.
They're still going to use him some. I'm just not seeing this. And then you got to feed Tevin Coleman and Matt Breida. It's just too many, and they don't funnel the targets to a wide receiver like that in San Francisco. So I'm off of Dante Pettis right now.
All right, you're hurting my heart, but I can see where you're coming from on that one because there's a lot of mouths to feed there. All right, Ryan, what you got for your last fake out?
I'm going Aaron Jones. I'm getting tired of the narrative. I mean, this dude's going 3rd round, and the team will not commit to him at all. He's getting picked as an every down back, and he's not that. Jamal Williams is nowhere near as talented, but he can run block, and Aaron Rodgers trusts him protecting him.
Pass block,
that keeps him on the field.
You mean pass
and
block?
And Aaron Rodgers runs. I'm sorry?
You said run block, but you meant pass block, right?
I'm sorry, pass block. My brain. I was getting...
If he's blocking for himself, he's pretty impressive.
But yeah, if he's run block, yeah. But dude, Aaron Rodgers trusts him to protect him. Dexter Williams like a good receiver, a pass first offense. I don't care what they think it's going to be there. It's Aaron Rodgers' team, and he's not going to let them become a run first offense. He's going to argue it. I just don't believe in it. He's not going to get enough volume to carry. He had 133 carries last year in 12 games. That's not enough, and that's not going to be sustainable. He has 214 carries in his career, so what? He's not top 15 season. In one season there. So
fair enough.
I'm good.
Fair enough.
I'm not taking him around the range we're taking Devontae Freeman, T.Y. Hilton, George Kittle, even some of the rookies.
Wow. All right, Aaron Jones a fake out. That's pretty bold there. I like it, though. I like it. All right, guys, let's do a little bit of this or that.
It's time for this or that.
All right, guys, if you're new to the show, this is how this works. I'm going to give you 2 guys that have, ADP based on PPR redraft, and you got to tell me which one you prefer at their ADP, okay? Ryan, we're going to you first, and we're calling this matchup No Look versus No Luck. Patrick Mahomes at the 303 versus Andrew Luck, and I'm putting him in the 8th round, so he's falling a little bit because of this injury news. So in the 8th round with Andrew Luck, who are you going with between these 2 guys?
Am I allowed to pass? No. I guess I'm going to go Luck, even though, because I just can't take a quarterback in the 3rd round. That's absurd. But, I mean, if I'm going to choose between Luck and Geronimo Allison or D.D. Westbrook, I'll take Luck there. But I'm still not confident about it.
All right, good stuff. So Luck in the 8th. All right, Nick, we'll go to you next. We're calling this matchup the Crab Shack on Phillips River. This is Jameis Winston at the 10:04 and Phillip Rivers at the 11:02. The next, 1 round later. Who are you going with out of these 2 guys?
Don't kill me, Ryan, but I'm going to go Phillip Rivers over Jameis. I know you said a lot of good things about Jameis and a lot of potential, so I agree with that. But Phillip Rivers going about a round later. He's been a QB1 fairly consistently and over a longer career than Jameis. I think both of them are turnover prone. I mean, multiple interception games can come at any time with either one of these guys. But the Chargers have a more balanced team. I think the defense will keep them, in games, even though, it just came out that Derwin James is going to miss some significant time. But
I'm sick about
the
that.
Chargers, yeah. But yeah, the Chargers, going to be in the games. Rivers isn't going to have to maybe come from behind too much. He has, some really good security blankets in Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry's coming back. Austin Eckler could fill in nicely as well. Mike Williams. So I think Rivers has a good set of weapons and just a better overall team. And again, just the fact that I can get a round later and have maybe similar, if not even slightly better production than Jameis, I'll go Rivers here.
All right, going the safe route there. I think I'm with you. I think if I'm waiting that long for a quarterback, I guess it depends on how I draft my team. If I need that quarterback upside, I might go with Winston. But if I got a pretty good team going into that 10th, 11th round, I might actually take Rivers for the safe, the guaranteed points basically. All right, Steve, we're going to you. We're calling this matchup Don't Be Holding Out on Me. This is Ezekiel Elliott at the now 108 and Melvin Gordon at the 305. Who do you want out of these 2 guys?
Yeah, so real quick, I actually saw Melvin Gordon drop to the 6th round in a mock draft with the full-time fantasy crew.
Wow.
That's going to be on Sports Illustrated. Yeah, my guy Blake, my co-host, grabbed him at the 6th. So, yeah, that could be crazy if he gets there. Now, 305, and we're talking about Zeke. It's got to be Zeke at this point. I don't think Zeke's going to miss as much time, and then he's going to be with you for the majority of the season. He might miss a couple games due to this contract negotiation, but we're going to learn more here. But I would go Zeke, just assuming that he's going to miss a couple games at most.
All right, fair enough. I think I'm going Zeke as well at the 108. I think he's still going in the middle of the first round, but at 108, that's value you just can't pass up right there. All right, Ryan, back to you. This one we're calling drafting for team need. As far as we got Todd Gurley at the 203 and Sony Michel at the 505. Who do you want out of these two guys?
Glad you gave me an easy one here. Todd Gurley. I mean, even at 60% of his attempts last year, he's still top 12 running back. He's gonna get the team's gonna use him in the red zone. He's a fantastic receiver. And even if Sony Michel's healthy, man, we can't trust anything that Bill Belichick does. We talked about that earlier and how he's getting first team reps. That doesn't mean anything there.
Good point.
He might get a ton of carries, but you know what? He didn't do much in the passing game last year, and the production wasn't super consistent because of that, because it was touchdown dependent. Gurley could be touchdown dependent only, and he's going to score more touchdowns, plus he gives you reps in the passing game. So Gurley and 203s, I'll take it.
A steal. All right, good stuff. All right, this next one is the reason we didn't answer a question at the last segment there. We had a question from at NFL_Zach about Diggs and Thielen. So, Nick, we're going to you with this matchup. We got, I'm calling this one Kissing Cousins. That's Adam Thielen at the 212 versus Stephon Diggs at the 311. Which of these two guys do you like?
I'm going to go with Diggs here. Slightly, I guess, better ADP value for me. I think he's going a little bit later than Thielen is. Last season, Thielen checked in at WR7, Diggs was at WR10, so they're both WR1s in their own right. I think the point difference was about 2.5 points a game between the two. It's pretty negligible to me, and if you're looking at kind of the box scores or the stats from week 8 on, I think I've heard this in terms of the Vikings offense that there's some kind of scheme changes and kind of the offense was changing up, maybe going a little bit more run heavy. But at that time, the offense started focusing more on Diggs. If you're looking at target distribution, there was even a game where I think Diggs had like 15 targets and Thielen had definitely under 10.
Wow.
So after week 8, they're tending to feed or target Diggs more, and I don't know if it's a sign of things to come, but even though it's redraft, I'm not looking at age necessarily. I just like Diggs' profile. He's just such a crisp route runner, has great hands. I mean, Thielen as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, but 2.5 point difference last year. Offense seemed to be tilting towards Diggs. Give me Diggs this year.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, I think I'm going with Diggs as well, just from the better value that you get there for basically the same receiver and the same offense as far as points per game. So yeah, I think I'm going Diggs as well with a little bit of value. All right, Steven, we're going to you with 2 second-year receivers. I'm calling this one the Terrible Twos. Calvin Ridley at the 505 or DJ Moore at the 509. So guys that are really close together. Which one of these two guys you like more?
Yeah, that's a tough one for sure. I think both of these guys are going to be fairly even at the end of the year, but I'll go Calvin Ridley. I'll take the better offense, so I'll go Calvin Ridley here.
All right, good stuff. All right, Ryan, we're going to you with this next one, 2 Broncos receivers. I'm calling this one the Young and the Relentless. Mr. Cortland Sutton, of course, is the Young at the 912, and Emmanuel Sanders, who just doesn't seem to want to go away at the 1001.
I'm going Cortland Sutton, man. I mean, Emmanuel Sanders, he's been good for a long time, but that's it. He's good. His most years he's caught, when he's been healthy, 70, 80 balls max. And that was 3 years ago. And he's coming off a torn Achilles. And he's getting up there in age. He's, 31 now?
Yep.
And I just don't trust that. And Cortland Sutton has upside, man.
All right.
He's a touchdown threat. And Flacco loves big body dudes.
That's true. He had Anquan Bolden there for a little bit.
and he had Crabtree before. Or he had Crabtree. He's
After
always
that.
had that big go-to receiver. And that could be Sutton.
Yep, good call. Good call. All right, and now we're going to you, Nick. They're calling this one Mark It Down, I'm Not Joking. This is David Njoku at the 811 or Mark Andrews at the 1309. Who do you like out of these two guys?
I'm going to go with the value in Mark Andrews, going, almost 4 whole rounds later than Njoku. You know, I'm just buying everything I'm hearing out of Ravens camp right now, whether it's Andrews or Lamar or Boykin.
Because you're in a chat with me.
Stop kissing up to Ryan.
I'm probably getting influenced. But, no, I mean, Mark Andrews, I mean, he just seems like he's primed for a real breakout. I mean, the way I'm projecting it is he's going to be a tight end 1, you know, probably a top 10 tight end. Njoku, I mean, what is his ceiling realistically? Maybe a top 5 tight end? You know, and that's a reach. I mean, that's really a stretch for me. So give me Andrews. I think there's going to be, you know, maybe a couple point difference a game between the two, you know, even favoring Njoku. But, I mean, 4 rounds later, I'm getting similar production. I can just grab, you know, another running back or, you know, WR3 instead of Njoku. You can give me that.
Yeah, 100% agree. I love Mark Andrews. I'm buying him everywhere that I can. Unfortunately, I did trade him in my Dynasty League. Before I kind of looked at him a little bit, I traded him away for Duke Johnson, thinking that I was buying Duke Johnson low, but now I kind of wish I had Mark Andrews back. But anyways, I think that's the right. You know, I think Njoku's going to be limited. They got, you know, target hogs there with OBJ and Jarvis Landry. You know, how many targets are going to be left for him? I think he's basically going to be a touchdown-dependent tight end, which a lot of them are, but if you're going with the 811 for a tight end, you want a guy that can get volume as well, and I don't think he's going to get that volume, so good stuff there. And Steven, bring us home. We got 2 Chiefs receivers. We're calling this one the Legion of Zoom. We got Sammy Watkins at the 806 versus the rookie McCole Hardman at 1309. Who do you like of these two guys?
It's Sammy Watkins for sure. I'm going to say McCole Hardman is fast, though. I mean, that one touchdown was you saw the speed. So, but it's definitely Sammy Watkins here. Look, I mean, if he plays 16 games, which I don't think anyone can really just project at this point with Sammy Watkins, but if he plays 16 games, he's a wide receiver too. There's no question about it. You can't say that for McCole Hardman. So, yeah, Sammy Watkins.
All right, good stuff. All right, now we're getting to the last segment of the night. Let's do our Forgotten Player.
Get ready for GoingFor2.com's Forgotten Fantasy Player of the Week.
All right, so I know Steven's got a good one that he wants. He kind of teased a little bit before we went on air. So I'm going to go to Nick first to get your Forgotten Player so that we can see if me and Ryan were right, because we were guessing before the show on who he had as his Forgotten Player. So, Nick, who's your Forgotten Player?
All right, I'm taking it back pretty old school, about 15 years. Larry Johnson, the Chiefs running back.
Nice.
You know, back in 2004, he was winning leagues actually when Priest Holmes went down. I mean, you know, he went on a 3-game tear from weeks 12 to 14. You know, putting up over 100 rushing yards in each game, 6 touchdowns in that span. He also had a game of 150 rushing yards. You know, mixed in some receptions and some receiving yards as well. So. You know, the following year, you know, showing that wasn't a fluke. The following 2 years, 2005, 2006, went over 1,700 yards in both seasons. You know, over 30 receptions in both seasons as well. So those are RB1 numbers in this day and age. I didn't kind of extrapolate, you know, back then what his numbers were like. But, you know, 1,700 yards, 33 receptions for 343 receiving yards in 2005. That's pretty studly. And 2006, he did it slightly better, so thought I'd take it back. I know there's a lot of hype on whether it's Damian Williams, and there's a lot of talk about Kareem Hunt, but Larry Johnson was doing it for a couple of years back in the day.
Yeah, it was crazy because Johnson played behind Priest Holmes for a while, and we would see him, you know, in relief every once in a while because I played fantasy back then, and when he finally got his shot, it seemed like it was just like a flash in the pan. He was like a couple years, and he was gone. Like he went straight from being a stud to being a nobody in like 2 years. But yeah, I love Larry Johnson back then. He had that, you know, it's kind of the grandmama they used to call him in football because the Larry Johnson that was in the NBA, of course. But yeah, he had some great seasons, and he was definitely a league winner back then for sure. All right, Steven, give us your. Let's see if me or Ryan are right. Give us your forgotten fantasy player.
Well, let me throw out some stats and let's see if you can get it. 5'9", 198, 7th round pick. Ryan.
Steve Smith?
We talking about Ray Rice?
No, it's Justin Forsett.
Justin Forsett.
Oh
We
my
talked
God.
about him earlier in the show too.
Yeah, that's incredible. And my brain just stopped, dude.
Well, when you said the stats earlier, I thought you were like hinting, like I know who it is, and you like were telling me like I know it's Justin Forsett. No, look, Justin Forsett came out of nowhere in 2014. Gary Kubiak led, obviously, offense, like you were saying, Ryan. Look, 2014, not too far back, but far enough to, you can kind of forget that name because he had 235 carries, 44 receptions. He was a workhorse where he had been his whole career just kind of a complimentary piece. And he ends up in this just great situation. No one was drafting Justin Forsett that year. He ends up being the RB8 overall in half-point PPR scoring. So, yeah, loved me some Justin Forsett back in the day.
All right.
So I thought it was going to be either Priest Holmes, who he talked about earlier, or Jamal Lewis was my first guess. It was all full circle tonight.
And see, my guess was, so I went on a show where I stole this segment from. I kind of give the story before the show. I'll kind of share it now. I stole this segment from The Real Deal with Damian Adams. When I go on his show, he does a forgotten player, not just fantasy player, but forgotten player in general. So I kind of stole it and did forgotten fantasy player. Well, I went on his show on Tuesday to sort of or on Monday to do a fantasy preview, and he did a fantasy, forgotten fantasy player as well at the end. And the guy that I almost used was also from the Ravens. He played for the Tennessee Titans as well. And that was Derek Mason. So that was my choice as a forgotten fantasy player that I thought you might have picked, Steven. He had 8 1,000-yard seasons, 4 with the Titans, 4 with the Ravens. He had some good years with some touchdowns as well, and he just never get talked about. Like everyone just forgot about him. But I think was an excellent choice as well.
Yeah, he had some amazing, because he started off as just a return guy.
Yep.
And he turned into a polished receiver.
Yep, exactly. Yep, and I had him on that same team that I had the 07 when I talked about Sean McDonald as being my forgotten player. Google him, guys. Sean McDonald. He had one good season. He was the last year before Calvin Johnson took over in Detroit. He was a good receiver that was on my championship team in 07. So, all right, guys, that is a wrap for the show. Let's go around the room and get our Twitter handles and where we can find you at. Nick, we'll go to you first. Give us your Twitter handle and what you got working on right now.
Yeah, so my Twitter, you can find me at TalkWhite101. And, I'll be dropping, a couple more articles coming up on GoingFor2.com here, kind of dialing in on some of these, draft targets for redraft purposes. Yeah, and, you feel free to reach out to me anytime on Twitter if you have any questions. I'll do my best to, get to them as fast as possible and give you, my thoughts.
All right, good stuff. Steven, where can we find you in the show at?
It's at FFProfessorST3 is the Twitter handle. You can find the Hot Take on the Full-Time Fantasy Network, but we're on wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it. And my writing's going to be on Fanball this season. I'm going to be writing weekly rankings over at Fanball, and you can also find my rankings on FantasyNation.com.
All right, so you're kind of a little bit everywhere.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan, and I want to go to you, get your Twitter handle, and also plug your projections that you just put out on GoingFor2.com because it's gotten some good hype.
Yeah, find me on Twitter at Ryan Sirfoss at FantasyFBConnect, and I have pinned right now my projections for the year. I went through all 32 teams, full depth charts, everything, and it's up there. I'm going to keep it updated probably throughout the preseason in case injuries or anything happen, so make sure to take a look at that and tell me how much you hate my projections and rankings. I love being ripped on. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really cool thing that you did. I mean, because you did an Excel sheet and you broke it down by teams, and then the fancy points at the end. You got a bunch of tabs. You got your top QBs, your top running backs, your top receivers, top tight ends. So it's a really cool tool, guys. You can check it out at GoingFor2.com. It's gotten a lot of hype so far. I had some people texting me like they love the projections the way it's laid out. So good job on that. You've been working on it all off season.
Yeah, I started on it top down. I went offenses, quarterback projections, and all my receivers and passing all matches up with what's going on with the QBs and all the way down. So it took a long time to do.
All right, well, yeah,
changed a lot.
it's definitely getting some good hype on the website. So great stuff there. All right, guys. As always, you can find me at JeffLambert77 on Twitter. GoingFor2.com. Every Tuesday and Friday night, we're right here on the Armchair Fantasy Show. That's a wrap. Have a good night.